Podcast, WATP.
Stuttering John is back, baby.
Oh.
Stuttering John just did an interview with Nick Greystone. I'm guessing they didn't have to pay $1,000 for it, as John once talked about he would need. We're going to find out why John was a guest on this show. But first, John was supposed to do a show last night at the Stress Factory.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a fun story. We were all just talking about it a second ago, and I didn't tell you the payoff here. So John did not do the show at the Stress Factory last night. And I guess OJ called the club, and they just said it was a scheduling issue. Well, here's a fun story. Vinny Paulino got a phone call 2 days ago. He didn't recognize the number, and he picks it up, and there's Stuttering John going, is this Vinny Brand? And Vinny goes, no, John, this is not Vinny Brand. And John immediately hung up. So John was trying to find Vinny Brand, who owns the Stress Factory, in order to obviously cancel the show. This idiot, he's going around promoting dates, and then he can't even fulfill them.
Well, and worst of all, he has people in his phone under their first name. Apparently, he found out that he knows more than one person named Vinny.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Wait a minute, is this Moonhead?
I know. I was telling Vinny, I'm like, you should have gone. No, this is Moonhead, you idiot. But these things happen so fast, and John keeps changing numbers and phones and stuff.
Did he cancel it? Did John cancel it?
That's my speculation based on the fact that he was calling Vinny Brand.
Okay, yeah.
And then Vinny Brand said that there was a scheduling conflict. So
What a maroon. Is this Vinny Brand?
But here's the thing too that I find interesting is that he gets booked.
Yep.
And he goes in.
That is interesting.
And it is interesting. And I watched the last clip of him. I can't remember where it was, but last clip. And he, it was, it was okay. But he doesn't really have to. Here's the thing. He doesn't have to be great. He just wants people to stare at. I mean, we just want to stare at him.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He was getting a good reaction at the Boca. You were going to go to that show.
Yeah.
You were
Well,
teasing
this is what I want to tell you about Boca, too, because you guys are trying to figure out the configuration of that club. It's about 70 seats. Mm-hmm. To the right, when you first come in, there's a big open section where you sit there. That room, that's the biggest room right there, too, is the green room. The green room's almost as big as the room itself. Okay.
Weird.
So yeah. So it takes about maybe 60 people to fill that room. It's not that big of a room at all.
Well, I realized that, and I know it was a packed room for him, but we were listening back to the audio of both nights, and people were loving it.
Yeah.
It was these hack jokes, and he was getting everyone laughing, so it really doesn't take that much when you have a name and people come out and they want to laugh.
Well, plus, now Boca is kind of like it's the jokes he were using was old, but the crowd was old.
Right, yeah.
It's an old crowd. So, if you start talking like Henny Youngman or some old school thing, they're into that,
It's familiar.
He should have done Henny Youngman's act. That'd be great. All right, so what we're talking about today is Primal Scream and Nick Greystone. I guess he's like a seriously obese metalhead, it would appear, based on this. But I'm sure it's been making the rounds. People have probably seen this. It starts with introducing their guest, John Melendez.
Holy shit. Well, I have a special guest today. It was totally out of the blue. I met this gentleman this weekend and kind of hit it off. He actually returned my phone call. I invited him onto the podcast, and he is none other than Stuttering John. What's up, my brother?
Greystone! Greystone! How are you, buddy?
You like that name, right?
Well, I didn't know that was your last name, but it is kind of funny because Nick was nice enough to drive me home from Chillicothe.
Okay, so we find out already what's happening here. John bummed a ride from this guy.
Absolutely.
And drive me home from Chillicothe, I assume he's talking about his mom's house in Massapequa. That's a long drive.
Because he was in Jersey, right?
Yes.
In Jersey, yeah.
That's a very long drive through some heavily congested areas.
That's a few Judas Priest albums there.
Yeah. So you just heard him. Oh, he was listening to Judas Priest and Motley Crue. Did you hear him talk about that?
Yeah, I didn't realize this was called Primal Scream. I did see this.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to miss this. John's big return to podcasting here.
Yeah.
So you just heard him say he bummed a ride. So it sounds like he owed this guy a favor, which is why he's doing the podcast, because he got a free ride. But then we saw him hanging out with Grillo at Chillicothe. Listen to this.
And also with Steve Grillo, and who bummed the ride, of course.
He has zero self-awareness. The guy's like, he let me get a ride with him, and then Grillo bummed a ride.
I called it first. Shotgun.
Where are these guys not being able to get themselves places as grown men?
I know.
You know? And
he has no plan. He had no plan. Just hoping a fan would be going that way.
Seems to be working out for him.
I know, right? Talk about jealousy. Just being able to just, I don't know, limp through life with no direction and just land in all these amazing opportunities.
Well, when you don't have a sense of reality or something, it doesn't hurt yourself. It's like he's like the drunk driver that gets into the accident and other people are injured, and he's just like, well, what's going on here? I mean, and that's how he goes through life. He doesn't get to seem to get any injuries from it.
That's a perfect analogy based on this next clip that I'm going to play for you.
It was great music on the way home. We had great conversation, and I drank all my beers.
It was awesome.
So he's in the car drinking all of his beers, whatever that means, who knows. But think about that. He's risking an open container for the driver, the owner of the vehicle. Like, I think that's a dick move. I don't like people drinking in my car while I'm driving them somewhere. Like, can we not do that? It's against the law. And if I get pulled over because I'm speeding like an idiot, I don't need that on top of it.
Well, plus, guess what? You can last a car ride. You should be able to say last a car ride without a beer.
Yes.
It's like when you see a comedian get on stage, he's drinking a beer while he's performing. Like, dude, you're not up there. Relax. You don't need to have a beer the whole time.
Drinking a beer, John drinks multiple beers
To relax.
So this is fun. John, he sees himself in a monitor in this studio. It looks like a decent setup that they have. And he gets very distracted because John can't help but stare at himself.
So it goes kind of like this. You go to...
This is weird because I'm on delay, so you probably don't want to... do we have to have that up there?
No.
Yeah, it's distracting, and I hate looking at myself. I look like shit. I get it.
I think you look nice.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, God.
But then again, it's coming from you.
Send the trash heap.
What is this man hiding underneath that blanket that he calls a t-shirt? That's what I want to know. This is a very large man.
But what an asshole John would be to interrupt the show to be like, does it have to be like
Does it have to be like that? Because I'm staring at myself and I'm on delay. And
It's like a child. It's
Yes.
like, it's like a mobile hanging him over or something like that. He can't concentrate without it moving or something.
So John immediately turns this into bragging about his career, but he backs way up to his very first job that he ever had.
So but before that, I was a little kid, and people would come to my, come to the backyard, like pull into the back. I had a picnic chair there, and I would sit there, and I got, $1 a head. I'd take it in my backyard. I was always making money, Nick. I never ever stopped.
The hustle.
I'm a hustler. Then I had a Newsday route when I was 12. And then 13, I started at Wholesale Tire in Farmingdale in a warehouse, tire warehouse, and that's where I got these biceps. That's where I got the guys lifting tires and throwing them.
Edie, are you impressed by those biceps?
Oh, absolutely. And I dare to have that at some point. But it's funny. At 13, he's working in the tire industry.
Yeah.
You didn't do that?
Manual labor at 13.
Throwing tires around.
Hey, let's get the prepubescent kid over there to move these tires around.
And he's got his arms look like cooked spaghetti. And he thinks he's throwing tires around, for goodness sakes.
Imagine you worked on the Tonight Show and Howard Stern. You were in these movies and doing all these cameos and all this stuff. And you're like, well, I had a paper route when I was 9. And then when I was 10, I started charging people admission to go in my backyard.
We're going to go to a commercial.
But what is the thing about his backyard? He never really elaborated what he has people to do. Is it
Yeah,
where did he grow up where people were paying $1 to see their backyard?
I think it was to see the picnic chair.
I know, I got out of my picnic chair. What the fuck is that?
Is there a picnic?
So there was a reference to a ghost house in his neighborhood, and apparently he was like behind them or something. So people go in his backyard to look at the ghost house. I guess. I think all of this is nonsense. I think all of this is made up, as we're going to find out. Because John throws out some things that I can prove are.
When I was an embryo, I used to help pull the cord in when the food came through. And
That's where I got these biceps.
biceps.
Dude, that's when his muscle memory started. Remember he's talking about his muscle memory?
The cord like the ropes, He's like.
All right, so this is fun because he brags about how much money he was making working for the tire place when he was a little kid.
it was like, I would say it was slave labor, but the only thing that was great about it is that we were in school, so they didn't take taxes on, and they paid us cash.
Wow, cash.
So you imagine being 13, 14 and getting $500 every week.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I can't imagine being 13, 14 worried about your tax bracket.
Yeah, he's not worried about it now.
He claims he was making $500 per week at the ages of 13 and 14. Well, I'll say 14. That was 1979. $500 in 1979 is $1,782 today. That would mean he was making a salary untaxed of $92,000 working at this job. It's not true. It's flat out a lie. And no one ever calls about this shit. I wish John would come on our show again.
Well, not to mention the actual mechanic who actually uses the tires and fixes stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't make 92
He's
grand.
not making that much money. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So it's just a lie. And John is just in full-on braggadocious mode throughout the first half of this podcast.
That's like boxing training. They have those big tires, right? They
Yeah,
fucking...
that's why, like, I don't want to hear people. It's one thing, like my father was a workaholic. And I am too. Like, I'll do anything. I've always said, I get very kind of restless. I have my real estate license. I became a school teacher. I passed the CBEST to become a school teacher. I mean, I was a school teacher in California. I was a school teacher in Florida. So and that's where I wrote my own curriculum, and then also, I've written a book, and it's just like I've always, I had 2 record deals.
He can't get these out fast enough.
All over, bro.
Hey, you know what? I mean, and it all pays off because now I get 2 pensions.
This is
His bragging is so screwed up from writing his own curriculum to, and I wrote a book too. Yeah, forget about the curriculum thing. That we just talk about the book.
well, and he acts like this podcast is like 10 minutes where he has to get all of the stuff out
Yes,
first,
exactly.
everything he's ever done. And this poor guy here, this big dude over there is kind of looking at him like, I don't even know where to go next. I'm just going to let you keep rambling.
It's a weird way to be in an interview bragging about yourself, going back to the age of 10, and then up to being a substitute teacher in California and Florida.
He's using this time, and I'm sure it's been like this through his whole life. This guy doesn't know he's a total loser yet.
Right.
And
Obviously.
and John knows that time is going to come soon. So this is his time to shine with his brags. Always be bragging.
You always be bragging. I love, John can't stop himself from going through his resume. As soon as he's just like, yeah, well, I also did this. And then he has to get it all out. And he has to give you all of the credits. But the fact that he said that he's a workaholic, he's the laziest asshole. We've documented this. When The Tonight Show went away, Jay Leno very generously gave everyone a big payout. John got $110,000. And what he did with that was he drank at the bar every day for a year without getting a job. He sent a couple of emails to a couple of HR people saying, hey, do you need someone to host a sitcom?
Yeah, announce on a sitcom. Very crappy emails.
Yeah, he's not going to get a job for this.
That's what I would do. I wrote a letter the other day. I was like, I think I could play Equalizer. Tell Denzel to sit down. But it's. I think what's different with him too is like when it comes to him trying to get another gig. I think he really leaned on the fact that he did the Tonight Show and thought that was going to be something announcer wise.
Yes.
And you see the announcers that are out of work, and you see the guys even the guy that he replaced, was better than him. So it's not even a matter of you writing a letter to anybody like that. It's not, you're not going to,
EDR, it's worse than that. He lost the announcer job while he was still working for the show. They were just like, okay, you can go in the back and write or something. They were trying to find something for him to do.
Can I draw?
and then there I go. So you got to be jealous again, so to speak, because this business, show business, is fucking unforgiving.
Of
No one
course.
gives a shit about anything.
Right.
And yet, even after he screwed up, they still said, hey, you can hang around.
Yes.
Meanwhile, in the radio gig, you lose a radio gig, you're gone. They don't even mention your name anymore.
Yeah,
and they were like, we're not even going to let you go. Just hang around and find something to do. We'll still pay you.
Jay Leno, I've seen him in interviews talk about how he's never fired someone. So Jay's a pretty easygoing
He's a
guy.
very easygoing
who's
guy,
just
yeah.
like, hey, well, John, it's John. It's great. Yeah, stick around.
John probably knew that going in. He's like, well,
Yes.
he doesn't fire anyone.
So yeah, a workaholic, even though he took an entire year off, didn't pay child support, got emails
and that's the other
from his
thing, too.
ex-wife saying, hey, you owe all this back, child support, 7 months.
Can't talk, job searching.
And Howard even mentioned how he hated to fire people. So now he worked for 2 people that are on a higher echelon that are afraid to fire him. So he doesn't really know what it feels like to lose a gig, other than maybe the teaching gig. But it doesn't matter that he lost a teaching gig, because I've done bigger things than this, so I don't even care. So he has no concept of actually being let go.
Right. Yeah, Howard kept him around because they didn't pay him shit.
Right.
So that didn't matter. They need someone to answer the phones.
Right.
So it's fine. All right. John starts busting the producer's balls.
Of course.
Which is, John, when he starts busting balls, man, he cracks himself up.
I had the band. I was in Battle of the Bands.
Oh, no.
What's your producer's name?
Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Tony, what's up, buddy?
I'll figure Tony from Long Island. He must be the only one.
Look at that face. John thinks that's a great line right there. Yeah, there's probably a lot of Tonys on Long Island. You got him there, Johnny.
I never met a guy who's so proud of so little. It's like, man.
No,
it's like
ADR, I've seen your stand-up before. You like to talk with people in the audience and stuff. If there was a guy like, hey, what's your name? Tony. Oh, Tony in Rochester, huh? What are the chances of that? Am I right, people? I would get up and walk out if that was your response.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny. Like, he's like, okay, there's a knock at the door. Okay, you open the door. The guy says something to you, and you can't even finish it. You just close the door slowly. You don't even get into it. You go, Tony from Long Island. It's like, oh man.
Okay, good stuff, John. All right, now we go into this long story, and I know we've heard some of the stuff before, but he's changing the story now, which is interesting. You know, his band was the coolest band in high school,
Of course.
and they did the Battle of the Bands, and so this is John talking about how he got his band paid.
So in 12th grade, I was smart. I became a homeroom representative. So I was part of the government of Plainedge High School.
This is the guy who ran for senator in California. What else have you done? I was a homeroom something or other.
I was a representative.
And that was the time I was the Amway salesman in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now I had my in. I had my foot in the door. So I convinced the president, this guy named Kevin Laurie, and I convinced him to do Battle of the Bands again. So now we're going to do Battle of the Bands. So they want to pay each band $400. I said, fuck that. I write this letter. I type it on my own. Then we had typewriters in those days.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. 1983, $400, high school band. Mm-hmm. I take gigs these days for $400. I'm a grown-ass man who's been playing in a band for 25, 30 years. This is ridiculous.
And plus, you're getting paid to battle. It's not even like okay, $400 is the prize.
Right?
If
Yeah,
he's
you're
trying to
just
get all
getting
the
paid.
bands $400, right?
Wait till you hear what he says the prize is.
Yeah. But so I just immediately on my bullshit radar is going off. I'm like, there's no way they're going to be $400 to play a show, and John's just like, that's not enough money. So yeah, he goes on.
I typed the letter and I give it to our principal, Dr. Manley. Believe it or not, that was his name.
I believe it.
And I give him this. So I'm at homeroom, and then I get and then the homeroom teacher goes, somebody comes with a pass. Mr. Melendez, Dr. Manley wants to see you in his office.
Mr. Melendez.
I'm like, shit. So there I am, sitting across from Dr. Manley.
Hey, shit for brains. Principal wants to see you. That's what really happened. Mr. Melendez, can we bother you for a moment of your time, please?
Stuttering John, the principal wants to see you.
Hey, stuttering fuckface.
Wants to see you in his office. I'm like, shit. So there I am, sitting across from Dr. Manley. He goes, John? I go, yes. He goes, I want to tell you something. What you did is the most professional thing I've ever seen.
Of course it is.
All right, I just have a quick question. Do you remember any conversations you had with your high school principal?
I can't remember my high school principal's name.
I have no idea either. I couldn't tell you one conversation I had with a teacher or a principal. This guy remembers everything. It's amazing how that works.
But sorry, he said, John. I said, yeah. I mean, he leaves that in the story.
There's a little fat you can cut off that story, John. Make it a little leaner.
I go,
They say brevity is the soul of wit. This man is witless.
yes. He goes, I want to tell you something. What you did is the
Want
most
to tell you
professional.
something? Like, I would hope so. He asked me to come down here. I'm supposed to be in class.
This is a woke dad story, right?
Yeah, this is all bullshit.
I want you to know you are the most incredible human being I've ever met.
Manly, he goes, John. I go, yes. He goes, I want to tell you something. What you did is the most professional thing I've ever seen somebody do. And
Do you know how many teachers and administrators are just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That was the most professional thing?
Go fuck yourself, Dr. Manley.
And think of all the other students that went through that high school that were, because Stuttering John wasn't Stuttering John then. He was just some knucklehead.
Correct.
So there's obviously other students that might have said something that he's seen in a lifetime. It's just amazing how all of a sudden this is the one guy.
John had a C- average. I mean, there's definitely more professional people going to this school than John. But anyway.
not only am I going to give you a gold seal on your diploma with distinctive effort, but I am also going to get you will make.
He's literally talking about getting a gold star.
You also get a set of steak knives?
But wait, there's more.
Ice-a-roni, the San Francisco treat.
Fucking idiots. I can't believe he's bragging about a gold star.
Like out of everything he talked about, I mean, he's trying to make himself look so good to every minor detail.
Yes.
The gold, like he could tell us the 1,000 stories that he's told before, without having the gold star in there, and we would go, boy, that's enough. But he's going, no. My life needs to let people know. I have to let know people in my life that I've had the gold star.
Isn't that interesting? This interview is him trying to impress these guys. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see this over the course of the next few clips that I play. It's nonstop, him trying to show these guys how cool he is. Who else goes into an interview like that?
Anyone else who's this insecure?
Yes, that would be the answer. No one's this insecure.
Nope.
No one else in the world.
Maybe Opie.
But I am also going to get you will make half of the door for each show. Because we did 2 that year. And he allowed me to cut out of school, to cut out of classes, to go to each class to promote it.
Wow.
Each band walked out with like 2 G's each.
Okay, I got to back that. That's a new detail I never heard before. The principal allowed him to skip class to promote his show.
To interrupt other classes.
Yeah.
Hey, you dumb fucks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, all you people don't give a shit, here's Stuttering John. You know, it's funny, if all the bands got $2,000, what's the battle?
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're going to get there. That's a good observation.
To cut out of school, to cut out of classes, to go to each class to promote it.
Wow.
Each band walked out with like 2 G's each time. So
Fucking
my
mammy.
band and the other band. Imagine that.
Okay, so now he's claiming it was $10,000. The first time he told this story, he said they made $10,000.
Right.
Now he's claiming it was $2,000 each show, so $4,000 for each band. So that's like $8,000 total if there's 2 bands, right? Which is not how a Battle of the Bands works, but he explains there's only one other band. $4,000 that he received for his band would be $12,843 today.
I'll tell you, his imaginary accountant must be losing his mind.
Who does he think he's fooling with this? No one would buy this. It's not how high school works. What were they charging for tickets? How big of an arena were they playing in?
He's got an NIL contract for bands in high school.
I mean, you could look up ticket prices for touring bands at that time, 1983.
Yeah.
And they're probably $750.
Yep.
Maybe $10.
Maybe.
Probably not. Probably less than that. So it's not like there's no way you're getting to $4,000 from these shows. Anyway, it's ridiculous. So he talks about how cool his band was.
We had T-shirts, and a lot of the kids in school would walk around with Stiff Minister T-shirts.
Awesome.
They would write it on desks, our emblem, all over the doors, Stiff Minister. We had this whole, like all the chicks loved us. It was awesome.
This is
This
like
is crazy.
This is like if you were talking to your kid,
Yes.
and you were telling us, so what was it like? And he would make up this big story, and then we were flying, and then you're going, oh yeah, that's good, right? I mean, it's almost kind of, I feel sorry, it's kind of hard to listen to.
Oh, I love
because
it.
anyone with any
I was
sense,
so excited he did this interview.
anybody with any sense is going, like, I don't even know what this guy is thinking. You know, he's sitting there going, this is all bullshit.
Yes.
At a certain point, I'm sure he realized that this is crazy. You have a guy who brags about being a professional musician and touring with Ozzy and touring with all these bands. And he's going this into detail about Stiff Minister, his high school band.
Yeah.
And about how the cheerleaders were fighting each other to jack him off because they're so popular. And I love the idea that like all the students were wearing the shirts and scratching the emblem. And you know who was doing that? The guys in the band. I've been in high school. I know how this works. The guys in the band are really into their band. No one else is. But he's painting this picture like he was the coolest guy in school. And he goes on to talk about the the ghost thing, because this guy brought up the ghost on Long Island he was all excited about. So John always does this thing where he tries to pull you in. He's like, oh, you're going to love this story. He does this a couple of times. He'll even reach out and like touch the person. Oh, you're gonna love this story.
Well, you would love this. So the first battle of bands. So everyone thought I was singing because in 11th grade we did it, and we were like the best band. Then we were StutJo was our name. Named after the ghost in my mom's house. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Oh, I can't wait to get to
this.
this.
That was just an episode of Famous and Afraid where they took a bunch of celebrities and we talked about our ghost experiences when we were kids.
Who hosts that?
I forget, but there was a bunch of celebrities. Me, Steve Guttenberg. There's a bunch of celebrities who did it.
Guttenberg? Who ever pronounced it Guttenberg?
Someone with a gut.
It's not correct at all. So he goes, I was on this show called Famous and Afraid. There's Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
There's no Famous and Afraid.
I don't think
it's
so.
called Famously Afraid. And guess who else was on that show? One Hal Sparks.
Oh.
Also did an episode of Famously Afraid where celebrities who need attention make up ghost stories. It's so lame. I've watched that episode.
I mean, look, and he doesn't even remember the name or the host.
Yeah, right. I know. Somebody has to throw in a credit because he had that thought. He's like, I was in a band where I was the singer. Think about what he just said. He goes, and everyone thought I was going to be the singer because we were the best band around the year before when I was the lead singer. And that band was called Stranger because there was a ghost, and I was on a TV show because of the ghost. And Steve Guttenberg was on that. Steve Guttenberg was on that too. All right. So let's get back to the this huge Battle of the Band show that he did. So apparently they wheeled out the singer in this coffin because everyone thought John was going to be the lead singer. They didn't realize that they had another guy singing.
Coffin.
But anyway, so I'm there. So then in 12th grade, everyone thought I was going to be the lead singer, but we kept it quiet. And we had this guy, John Carroll, who was the big Ozzy guy, the big Judas Priest guy, like the insane guy. So then I had my keyboard player do like a funeral march. And then we had our pallbearers come out in black gowns, carrying his painted black coffin, and they bring it to the stage.
I wish you were interviewing John. Just started laughing in his face when he's talking about this. The guy fucking opened for Ozzy, and this is his big story that he's telling because the guy's like, "Oh, you like metal?"
Who's the host? Nick?
All right.
Did this guy ask him a question to get to this point? Did he even ask him a question?
No, he's letting him go. And matter of fact, if we watch it, he hasn't moved at all.
Well,
He might be. He
might be dead.
No, that's a good point because it started with John bragging about how he had these jobs when he was younger. And then that turned into high school time. And I was in a band. We were the coolest band. And all the girls loved us. Like, oh, you're going to love this. Oh, and you're going to love this. That's a crazy way to get there.
And none of his stories, to give any of them any kind of credence, none of them has any part of his life of him failing at everything, even though we can all see that. But it's so funny. Like you could say, "Hey, man, I went over here too, and I meant to meet this chick, and we hooked up and everything else like that, and I got crabs or something like that, And then you at least go, "Oh, okay, well, he's one of us,
Right.
But everything's like, "Oh, hooked up with this chick, and she couldn't get enough of me. She's banging on my door." It's just crazy.
No, you're right. And there's even when he talks about when he's reminiscing about the Howard Stern days, he'll talk about how great his appearances were and how he was the funniest. He made everyone laugh. It's all up on YouTube. We go and watch, and he's being berated by Howard for doing the wrong thing and not learning the lessons. But John recreates this world. So none of this happened.
Right.
None of this happened the way that he's explaining this happened. And I would love if someone had videotape of this performance of Stiff Minister with this big reveal.
Sick.
Carrying his painted black coffin, and they bring it to the stage. And then The coffin is placed on the center of the stage, and then we go into you've got another thing coming. Dun, dun, dun,
Nice.
dun, 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 dun. And then as soon as we go, ding, and the coffin opens, John Carroll comes out.
Holy
He's got the
shit.
666 on his shirt. He comes out there, and we go into you've got another thing coming.
More than life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Listen, I don't think, he talks about this and how it's exaggerated. I believe, excuse me, there was a battle of the bands.
Okay.
But I can tell you, anything after that, nothing happened. I would go as far as say none of this has happened. There was no coffin. There were no pallbearers. I mean, you're talking high school.
It's high school. And no one would be like, holy shit, they have a new singer in this band?
Yeah.
Let's go.
I just thought there was a dead guy in the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, it was bringing a coffin and pallbearers and costume changes and everything.
Props to Nick for going, whoa, wow, that's killer, man.
Nick's hanging in there, but
He's
he
hanging
knows.
in there.
Like I said, it's like talking to a 5-year-old. He's like, oh, okay, that's great. He knows.
Wow,
He's
that's
gotta
so
know.
cool. Imagine being 60 years old and talking about your senior year of high school like this at a show. Not even with like a guy you went to high school with.
Right.
That'd be one thing. If you were talking to an old buddy and you're like, oh my gosh, you remember the Battle of the Bands? Then you could have a conversation. Not like this, but you'd have a conversation. This guy's on a show talking about this.
And even as elaborate as this is, you would think someone would come out of somewhere and go, John, I remember that. Or, hey, John, I was in that band.
Right.
I mean, we got none of that, Or you don't even have anyone that calls up and goes, John, well, wait a minute, John. Okay, the coffin didn't pop open. It was just moved out there and he climbed out,
Yeah.
Not even anything close to it.
Right. It was a cardboard box that was on
Yeah,
stage
right.
before you guys went on. But I actually have had people reach out to me who knew John from the Long Island days. And one guy who went to high school with him, but they weren't in the same grade. He didn't know him real well. But you're right. You would think that people would be popping out of the woodwork to be like, oh, yeah, no, this was a killer show. I still remember it. So glad I paid $60,000 to see it.
Yeah, it would have made headlines if that money was involved.
Right. So I love this because John's like really ramped up. He's feeling it. These guys are buying into this and he's talking about this cool shit. And so he starts air guitaring and singing guitar licks.
But there he is. So then we go into Black Sabbath's Paranoid.
Holy shit.
Oh, Black Sabbath's Paranoid.
Should we watch that again?
Yes, please.
See, it'd be funnier if Nick was like, oh, yeah, how does that go?
Yeah.
But he didn't even have to.
No.
John just did this anyway.
Paranoid.
Holy shit.
Boom.
Boop. That's not how Paranoid goes, but sure. I love that he's like rocking out with this guy.
This is the easiest guest this guy has ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's just sitting there going, wow, yeah, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's cool. That's killer, man. Great. So then there's the next battle of the bands, and they have to outdo themselves. And again, John tries to pull these guys in to the story.
Then the next battle of the bands, you love this, the same gallows, but now we did it differently.
Okay. So the next battle of the bands, they did it a little bit differently. And so he's going to start bragging about this.
What happens is John Carroll goes through the trapdoor where it's curtained off, so you don't know. This is all coming out of the brain of Stuttering John Melendez.
Holy
a young
it is.
Stuttering John. So I figured out how to...
Oh, yeah, I didn't even pick up on that. Yeah, it's coming out of your brain right now.
Yeah.
Like you're making all of
Exactly.
this up. But he's trying to brag about how he had these great ideas for the stage show.
This is all coming out of the brain of Stuttering John Melendez.
Holy
a young
shit.
Stuttering John. So I figured out how to do this. So he comes down, no one knows. Then they see a head with the same pillowcase on his head that comes through the thing. Then the guillotine, and then we
down.
opened with Hot Rockin'. And then boom.
I just love producer Chris trying to figure out what riff he's trying to
Well,
do.
Hot Rockin' is a Priest song. I'm a big Priest fan.
Yeah.
And that sounded like Frankenstein.
Well, it sounds a lot like
that's not Frankenstein, but go back before the music because it's like, I don't mean literally, but go back before he even gets to that point
Yeah.
where he said, it came out of the mind of Solid Rod. The curtain came down and then the thing went here and whatever. It's like, okay, what is that?
And he's poking the guy's arm. He's like, oh, yeah, you're going to love what we did next. You're going to love this.
Wow.
So they obviously bonded over a lot of priests when they were driving back from ChillerCon. Now this is, I love it because Nick calls him out here, but I don't think he meant to. And John tries to get past it.
The guillotine comes down. Pig's blood goes all over the front row. And the freaking head falls into the freaking basket.
Holy shit, like Alice Cooper.
And yeah, I didn't even know he did that. But then,
Sure you didn't know.
Who?
Yeah.
and again, I mean, like, then we did Godzilla from Blue Oyster Cult.
Holy shit.
I had an 8 mil black and white film of Godzilla we had on the stage.
It ain't what? Hold on. He's trying to say millimeter, right? 8 millimeter film.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
Shit.
I had an 8 mil black and white film.
He just gave up. An 8 miller.
8 Millers. 8 Miller lights I had. This is look. This is so. I'm telling you, it's getting sad because now it's to the point where you're going. Okay, so pig blood, all over the place.
So think about this: a high school battle of the bands, and he says he went to the butcher and got pig's blood. They did this whole guillotine
All that
thing.
effort, by the way.
And the front row, pig's blood went all out in the front row. It was a Guar concert. Was anyone ready for that? That's not cool. I'd be pissed.
Plus, what position did they go in the show?
Yeah, right.
Because if you're not last and pig blood goes out, the show's pretty much over after that.
And Dr. Manley's like, I've never seen anything this professional.
I wish we get a hold. I wish Dr. Manley was still alive or something.
I
Talk
know.
to him.
So this is wild what this guy is describing, because not only are they doing all these really cool cover songs and ripping off Alice Cooper with their stage show, but they play originals tee.
And we did United by Judas Priest. We had the American flags come down. And then we did 2 original songs. We had the hottest 12th grade girls in the school come out in bikinis and hold the titles out. We were like doing a whole stage show.
Turn it off.
How'd you pull this off?
No, come on. This is embarrassing. Even.
You think?
Who's this guy here? This son of a bitch over here sitting there not saying a damn thing. You need to get him on
Cardiff.
You got to get him on the show and go, dude.
Yeah.
How did you go that 12 and bikinis and stuff? American flags. And we had the Jets go over too in the formation. We had Blue Angels come by.
I talked to the Marine Corps. They were cool about it.
The story is, I'm telling you, it's like you're sitting there watching, and I don't like the term mental, but a person that is just rambling. Like it's like if he were sitting on the street corner and you gave him money and you started to sit down, talk to him, and you just let him talk. This is what this sounds like.
Yeah.
So this is
We're
great.
actually pretty close to that.
Now he's talking about 1983 was a crazy time. It's before my time. Now he's talking about high school girls in bikinis are coming out on stage to hold up signs that have the names of the original songs they play.
Come out in bikinis and hold the titles out. We were like doing a whole stage show.
How'd you pull this off?
It's from the fucking mental fucking lunacy of Stuttering John.
Absolutely.
But like we were like the band, man.
Listen, I would be. I wish I got to go under a pseudonym and get a podcast and have him on, because I would be like, okay, this is great. Do you have one single picture of any of this? Any of it? A girl in a bikini,
right?
Which, believe me, if they're on stage in bikini, someone snapped a picture of that.
Yeah.
You would think,
but it's like any of it. The flags lowering down, just any part of it.
It would have been in the yearbook at least, right?
Something would have been. That is the yearbook.
Now the big question is, I think you were asking this earlier, EDR. Did they win the Battle of the Bands? Because that's the whole point of a battle of the bands.
You had to win.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, they didn't announce a winner, but we won. I mean, I would rub it into the other bands like all year long.
Yeah, you had us at Pig's Blood.
They didn't announce it.
Is that the greatest thing ever? There's no winners or losers in rock and roll, but we're winners. They were losers.
like after all that, the judges are going, I don't know.
Yeah, tie. We're calling it a tie on this
Flags
one.
down Pig's Blood. No, I like the kid. I just like the other kids that were playing on the used drum set that are, jeez.
The bragging came to an abrupt halt there.
Didn't it? I know, like, you made all this other shit up just so you won. Who cares? It's hilarious.
Won. I mean, I would rub it into the other bands like all year long.
That's fucking sick. Stiff minister.
Oh, man.
I actually did another year at that school just to be in a band.
This guy's, I love that he's playing into this. Like, yeah, that's sick, man. That's so cool. And you would rub it into the other bands?
This guy blew it. He had the perfect chance to just
No, this is great. No, this is great. I love what he did. Nick, this is perfect. Don't listen to EDR. This is the perfect. You just got to go along with that and let John.
We need to stop this madness.
No. Let John talk.
Oh, no, I could say stop the madness, but he won't stop.
I think it's great. And I don't know if you know this, a lot of bands have taglines in 1983. It's a very important part of being in a band.
Fucking, that's a great story, man. That's awesome.
If it ain't stiff, it ain't worth the fuck. That was our slogan.
Oh, God. It's so vile. If it ain't stiff, it ain't worth the fuck.
High school, by the way.
He's still laughing about it. Isn't that great?
He just, I'm telling you.
From this mind.
bad.
From this mind.
bad,
That's how
yeah.
I came up with that.
Wow.
I love this. It's so fun. All right. What else is he talking about on here?
And then when I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. That's
not
why in
over.
high school, it's like,
Oh, yeah. We're moving on. We're moving on to college and trying to figure out what he wants to do for a living.
Season 2.
Yeah.
And then when I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. That's why in high school, it's like, I have no idea what I want to do. I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be an accountant, for Christ's sake.
I love that he thinks those are his options.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Well, I could be a lawyer. I could be a doctor. I could be an accountant, but I don't know. I'm above all of those things.
What am I going to do with all that extra pig's blood, you know?
What a douchey thing to say. Just to throw out professions that take 8 years of schooling and obviously you have to be very intelligent and studious to get these. He had terrible grades in school, and he's sitting there going, my options were doctor, lawyer, accountant.
Astronaut.
Yeah, the only way it sounds good is if he was actually trying to be funny. Go, well, I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that.
Right.
But you know he's actually saying it. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not kidding about it.
Yep. So, EDR, I don't know how you feel about this, but I oftentimes rag on John for working his act into interviews. I feel like it's a hack thing to do.
He's not going to do the Uber thing, is he?
No, it's a different
My
one.
favorite.
The last year at Nassau Community College, because I saved my cheap-ass father some cash, because my father was so cheap, his idea of a trust fund was, John, you'll get nothing, trust me. So I went to Nassau Community College, and I did that.
Oh, the trust fund one. I forgot about that. Yeah.
My dad was so cheap. Yeah. How cheap was he? That's a big part of his act.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a bunch of jokes for that. Now, John's trying to pretend he went to community college because his dad was cheap, not because his grades were garbage, and that was his only option. We know that for a fact. Now, we've seen the transcript, and John's still trying to play it off like, no, Harvard was calling, and Yale, and I was just like, I don't know what I want to do yet. Give me a couple of years to figure it out before I make a final decision, guys. Come on. Oh, I'm catching John in another lie here, but it starts out with something that we've heard many times. John's very proud of this Pulp Fiction trivia that he likes to tell people.
Tony, you're going to love this. You ever see Pulp Fiction?
Of course.
All right, so you know the scene where John Travolta stabs Uma Thurman with an adrenaline shot?
Sure.
Okay, Quentin Tarantino. In the foreground, on the bookcase, take a guess what the 2 board games he has.
Operation?
1.
I was going to say that too.
Monopoly.
Clue.
No. What is he saving there?
The boss's wife?
Yeah. He's saving her.
Life.
There you go.
Life.
Operation Life.
I never knew.
Google it.
Wow.
Google it. You can put it on this show. Operation Life is in the foreground.
I'm also a producer.
He thinks that's the most amazing anecdote or movie trivia fact anyone's ever heard. He really let that stretch out. Like, just be like, yeah, it's kind of cool. They put Operation Life on there. It's kind of symbolic of the scene that was happening. He can't explain things like that. He's like, guess what it is? Nope, it's not Monopoly. Nope.
You dumb fuck.
It's not Shoots and Ladders. It's not Mousetrap.
Although that is a good game.
Well, shoots and ladders. You know what's funny is because he does it that way, obviously, because he wants to show you, look, I know something you don't know.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep.
Rather than, because, most of us just go, yeah, did you see Operation and Life were on the thing there too? But if I remember correctly from my Johnology, I think didn't he direct Quentin Tarantino at one time?
Oh, you think that's going to come up in a moment? Do you think?
You do know your Johnology.
But first he throws in this lie that I've never heard before.
I was so fascinated by that I said, okay, I'll major in directing. So then I went to NYU.
So John says he was fascinated by the fact that Quentin Tarantino put those board games in the scene, and that's why he majored in directing. Only problem is Pulp Fiction came out in 1994. John was interning on the Howard Stern Show in 1988.
Oh my goodness.
It's not even close. Like, he's just making this shit up. Like,
Well, he's gotten away with murder with Nick. He's like, oh, this guy's a sucker.
yep.
Yeah.
He'll say anything. Let's hear about how amazing he was in school, of course.
I started getting A's in all my films because I was putting the camera where students were like, how did you know to put the camera there? I'm like, I don't know. And then before you know it, people started asking me to be in the films, and I realized I can act.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, now he's trying to let you know that he has so much talent, he can't even control it.
Yep.
It's all over the place. It's taking him over. He just goes with it.
He doesn't even know how he is able to pull it off. And the other students are in awe. The other students are like, whoa, how did you do that, John? It's like,
When you're mental like me.
yeah, right. Then he talks about how he was a great actor as well, and we've seen him act, and he's not a good actor at all. We've seen one too many. It's terrible.
Wigs.
But anytime Quentin Tarantino gets brought up, this anecdote has to come out.
But a little caveat to that story of Quentin Tarantino, when I become a writer on The Tonight Show.
All right, I paused it there. We know what he's going to say. It's fine. It's enough. But, he wraps that up with talking about how amazing his life has been.
I can't believe Stuttering John is directing Quentin Tarantino. I mean, what are the fucking odds? So to say I've had a charmed life is an understatement.
Has he ever watched another accomplished performer getting interviewed?
No.
I wonder what he thinks how you should conduct yourself. I've never seen Tom Cruise. I've never seen Bradley Cooper go through their resume and talk about meeting famous people. And
Well, yeah, because it's like because
it's like you've been there. Right? Like
Tom
we
Cruise
get it.
doesn't have to explain it because he's Tom Cruise, and you see coming forward, you go, "Oh, that's Tom Cruise," whatever. But this guy, when he talks about it, it'd be nice if he ever if Quentin Tarantino in some circle heard this interview about him directing him. You don't think that's going to bring him out of the woodwork to hear something? Just to be able to go, no, that's not true or whatever. And I mean, I don't know Quentin Tarantino, but I've seen him before. And he says, well, I kind of did. I watched Pulp Fiction 15 times. And so it's like, I just think that it's really weird because if he's saying all this and he's out on this and everyone's looking at it, like we're looking at it now.
Right.
So the odds of it getting back to somebody, it's like you go, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? I fucked Tori Spelling. Okay.
That's not the one I would have picked, but good for you.
It's just the top of my
I
head.
I hear you.
Listen, what am I talking about? I came up from behind. But the point is this: I could say that, and if I meant it, I'd be worried about that's got to get back to somebody. At some point. He doesn't even worry about that.
Well, his definition of directing is off on this one. Because what happened was, the story that he explains is there's a cold open, it's got to be 30 seconds. Quentin Tarantino just rambles on for a minute and a half, and John goes, we got to shoot that again, Quentin. You got to just stick to the script. And then they shot it again. And he's like, I directed Quentin. That's not directing. That's not what a director does.
I told him where the bathroom was.
You're right. I directed him towards the bathroom.
I directed him to the bathroom.
All right. This is the last clip I have on here. This is hilarious because Nick says something. John gets very upset with him.
I feel a show is only as good as the people that are in it. I used to watch the Howard Stern show back in the day because of the guys in the Whack Pack and like guys like you.
I was never in the Whack Pack, though.
You were part of the original crew, though.
But I was never a Whack Packer.
They never put you in that?
No. What the fuck? Are you out of your fucking mind?
I thought you were like part of that.
No, you dumb fuck. What are you talking about, Nick?
So I'm like insulting you right now.
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? What do you put me in with fucking Beetlejuice?
No, I'm not.
And Fred the Elephant Boy? You fucking prick! Yeah.
I saw in the comments someone wrote, both Beetlejuice and Fred the Elephant Boy are funnier than John.
See, that's the difference too. John's head's smaller than Beetlejuice, so
His brain's smaller.
You know, it's funny. It's so weird that he's really pissed off at this now, and it's funny because I ever thought if I were ever to meet John, I'd be like, oh, you're one of the Whack Pack guys. As a matter of fact, I was talking to my brother. My brother lives in Atlanta, and I was talking to my brother about this show and you guys and Stuttering John.
Yep.
And I asked my brother, who didn't listen to the Howard Stern show back then, because back then everyone thought it was racist, whatever, and
sure,
black people kind of stayed away from it back in the day. Mm-hmm. But when I asked him about it, and I said about
wait, your brother's black too?
Well, yes, he is.
One's in the
actually.
family, I guess.
We all have this big birthmark. But it's like, and I asked him about it. I said, with Stuttering John. And he even said, oh, was it one of those crazy guys that Howard used to bring on and stuff? So he didn't equate it to that either.
It's hilarious.
Well, you can tell by John's reaction. This isn't the first time.
Yeah, he gets very
Yeah,
offended.
he's
Waiting for it.
When
He's
that
like,
comes up.
oh, here it comes.
So I have to tell you guys that I left off about 20 minutes into this interview. I had so many clips. I'm like, all right, we'll save the rest for later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
This is an incredible episode. I'm so glad that John did this.
Oh, my goodness.
So we'll to be continued on a future episode of WATP. This is a post that somebody put up who met John at ChillerCon. And he says, the one, the only, Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show. He started a conversation with me the minute I walked into the room, commenting on my Cheap Trick hat and the fact that he opened for them. He then shared many a story about various celebrities and Rockstar. We must have talked for a half hour, 15 minutes. The rest was stuttering. I'm kidding. He was very cool. Obviously a big Trick fan as well. So this guy doesn't even know what he's doing because he's just posting this on social media going, isn't this cool? I met Stuttering John. There's a picture with him. But what he's saying is that John saw the Cheap Trick hat and immediately had to brag about his resume and what, opening for them. And, do you know that was in a band? We opened for Cheap Trick?
It's funny. Many times as John's talked to a bunch of people that's end up on this show or maybe even like Uncle Rico or something like that he still can't help himself, but to meet people and to sit there and chat with them and talk to them and give them stuff that they can use on the show.
I know.
You would think after Kate Meany, and that's me, after the first time Kate Meany got me, I wouldn't talk to anybody. But you get,
No
but you
shit.
get him twice.
Yeah, with the
and
same
then every
person.
other person comes up to him and he gets him.
I also think John asked that guy if he could have a picture with him.
That's a pretty cool hat. Can I get a picture with him? Someone in the chat earlier was writing, it's obvious John does not talk to people very often. Yeah. Like just based on this interaction where he's just telling this guy his life story without even a question about it. It's like, all right, man, relax. Let this guy interview for you for a second. And then when he tries to interview him, he goes, so you were a whack packer, right? So that didn't go well, but to be continued, more to come.
Who are these podcasts?